day of Judy Garland's funeral, the New York City Police Department pulled a routine raid on a gay bar on Christopher Street in Greenwich Village. The patrons of the Stonewall Inn with bricks, bottles, and fists fought back. A 3-day riot followed and the lesbian gay liberation movement was born. Organizations sprung up across the country almost overnight. The following year, the first Christopher Street Gay Liberation Day parade was held. The 70s raced by, with organizations joining the march representing feminist groups, senior citizens, doctors, lawyers, psychologists, writers, school teachers, and many more. Unknown to anyone at this time was the presence of a strange, new, and deadly virus. The 80s ushered in a conservative government administration, the moral majority, and AIDS. Many thought the movement was over, but not surprisingly, women and men across the country rallied to the new challenge in unprecedented numbers. And what was once a small group of dissidents parading through Greenwich Village has grown to be the largest organized civil rights march in world history.
Give us an announcement that I think marks something historically, and that is this month, while we're celebrating our 20th anniversary, Jerry Falwell has had to fold up, close down, and declare a failure the moral majority. Hate just ain't selling the way it used to. The people of Stonewall raised more than their fists and their voices. They raised the hopes and the expectations of multitudes across this country. And they began building. And the stone wall became the cornerstone. Looking around at their legacy, we know what the rest of the country is learning on this 20th anniversary. And that is that Stonewall is alive, Stonewall lives. Whoa! Every time a youngster finds his or her way to the Harvey Milk School, Stonewall lives. Whoa! When openly gay and lesbian candidates run for political office to demand to sit at the table, Stonewall lives. Whoa! When the royal court takes over the Waldorf Astoria, Stonewall lives. When out of love and fighting for her family, Karen Thompson demands to know why Sharon Kowalski can't come home, Stonewall lives. And when AIDS activists demand from the system more, better, faster, now, Stonewall lives. Whoa! And the first time someone has the courage to put on a gay pride button, to step off a curb and join a pride parade, or to tell one other person, just one other person, who they are, who they really are, Stonewall lives.
En route to concentration camps, gays were forced to wear an armband marked with a purple triangle. 250,000 were executed in Nazi Germany. Some of the first laws regulating sexual practice were implemented by the ancient Semites and later passed on to the Romans. Roman canon law became the foundations for Christian law. Although these laws were on the books for centuries, they were for the most part overlooked and never enforced until well into the Middle Ages. Conservative philosophy of Thomas Aquinas was blindly being followed by the illiterate population. It was believed that the good things in life were God's gifts, and the bad things were God's punishment. The deadly and incurable sexually transmitted disease, syphilis, at this time was introduced and rapidly spreading across Europe. Church and state, using fear, prejudice, and superstition, set forth to control the sexual functions of all people. Along with political dissidents, intellectuals, and many other people for many other reasons, sexual deviants were humiliated, castrated, publicly stoned, beheaded, and burned at the stake in order to frighten the masses into adherence to strict church law.
Gays were oppressed by society, but more importantly, society, through its use of cultural power, got gays to suppress themselves. Not only a neat trick, but perhaps the most efficient means of oppression. Aspects of this internalized self-hatred had been fixed in place for centuries by a British law commanding death by hanging for anyone convicted as a practicing homosexual. A law which passed in 1533 was not changed to death by hanging, to merely life imprisonment, until 1861, the first year of our American Civil War, and 51 years before I was born. That socially internalized invisibility of self-hating gays and lesbians was still paramount here in the United States when I founded my Mattachine Society in Los Angeles in 1950. By January of 1970, we had gay liberation fronts in many regions of the country. The 1970s were full of gay ferment. Gay lesbian liberation proliferated by leaps and bounds, maybe even leaping a little too far and bounding a little too fast. But the sleeping giant, that hetero-male dominated American society, whose fundamentalist hatred of homosexuals had succeeded in persuading us to oppress ourselves for 300 years, turns out to be still running the show and calling the turns. A very prestigious nationwide public opinion poll, querying 2,500 significantly selected areas across the country, asked in 1975 whether their respondents thought that homosexuality was right or wrong. 83% of them queried said they thought it was wrong. Asking that same question in exactly the same places in 1985 revealed that those finding it wrong had dropped from 83% to 81%. 2% in 10 years. Supreme Court Justice Byron White, writing the majority opinion in the 1986 Hardwick decision, knew about that 81%. The Congress who sits on the nation's purse strings and refuses to properly fund our struggle against the AIDS epidemic knows about that 81% too. For all our zaps, our marches and gay pride parades, our movies and documentaries, our star-studded telethons, and extensive radio interviews and electing popular candidates and getting law changes, 81% still thinks homosexuality is wrong. Before I go any further, let me blurt out furiously that that question is a wrong one. Ever since the Holocaust and the Nuremberg trials, we don't send public opinion polls into neighborhoods to require of respondents if they think Jews are wrong. We don't ask the question of whether blacks are wrong, if they think having blue eyes is wrong. The question should be, what is this new dimension these people have to contribute? So just why is that 81% so persistently still in place? Well, perhaps many reasons. Two I will give you here. One, because we let them, our hetero parents, friends, and politicians, tell us, as we like to hear it through our gay window, oh yes, your father and I suspected you were gay. We just want you to know that we love you anyway. Listen to that sentence again through the hetero window. Oh yes, your father and I know you've gone wrong, but we love you anyway. The anyway is the mask that hides the homophobe. The parent, the friend, the politician who has learned nothing from your coming out to them, but who have agreed to accommodate your guilt and sin, as relatives learn to accommodate your sister having married a goy. The anyway reveals these heteros, the parents, the friends, the politicians, to be themselves part of the 81% who think we are wrong. Perhaps it is time to say to that non-thinking accommodation, that knee-jerk tolerance, no more. The second and perhaps more important reason for the stubborn persistence of the 81% is that our predominantly gay-hating hetero society is still mindset upon keeping us gagged by their conspiracy of silence. When in October of 1987 our gay and lesbian folks mounted the largest protest march the United States has ever seen, even Jesse Jackson greeted our numbers at 700,000. Time Life Newsweek, admittedly the largest magazine and media conglomerate in the country, saw fit not to publish one word on the event. In this fashion, America's 81% are being deliberately misinformed. This year, the Time Life Newsweek conglomerate plans to attempt a merger with Warner Communications, the largest television producer and syndicator in the country. And the potential of that further monopolizing was hinted at when conglomerate members like the LA Times and the New York Times, reporting on the Women's Powerful March of 300,000 pro-choice men and women on April 15th, spoke of this 300,000 person event as the largest that Washington, D.C. has seen since the Martin Luther King 20th anniversary march of 1983. Totally ignoring, no, deliberately obliterating our gay and lesbian march of 3 times that number in October of 1987. Dear brothers and sisters, dear gay family, on this 20th century of the Stonewall Rebellion, might we not agree that in reviewing this sorry array of recent caricatures, we have been kidding ourselves long enough? The heteros have been telling us since we were small that we are not the same as they. Could we now not at last begin to take the hint, breaking the conspiracy of silence surrounding us, to appreciate the very different people we are from them and always have been? Isn't it time we began to appreciate that it is one of Mother Nature's great gifts to us to be different? I have always felt that it was a great gift to be gay. If we truly intend to break and dissipate the conspiracy of silence with which we have been surrounded, and in which we have been drowning. I suggest we are going to have to invent new ways, for one thing, to neutralize our compulsion for hetero middle-class brag. More of us shall have to become visible, and some of us are going to have to become more visible. Like me, for instance. So also on this lovely 20th anniversary day, my gay and lesbian family, my beloved family of concert choice, let me, in my Radical Fairy Zuni style skirt variation number 2, let me be your sacred clown, to bring to you the all-heal of laughter, the blessings of my irrepressible giggle, and the all-heal of my love to you all.